What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. As you can see, I am back down at Kobe's Swap Meet. I am just walking in today. I am trying to find an assortment of different items now. I know over the last couple months, I've really been kind of going outside the box for things that I'm trying to find. As you can see here, I am looking through shoes. I found quite a few good pairs of shoes that I flipped for a huge profit. Video games as well, not so much, because these are an older style of video game that I'm not super familiar with, but shoes are definitely on my radar moving forward. I've made triple and quadruple the profit before. I ended up passing on those ones because I looked over at the next booth and saw these plush dolls. That is a Pokemon. I'm not super sure what Pokemon that is, but I decided to pass because they wanted too much for that. It was the Pikachu at the beginning that caught my attention, but overall I had to pass with everything. Next, I was walking by, and I'm always on the lookout for golf clubs. I saw these two shafts sticking out of this box, and I figured I had to go check it out because the public had not seen them yet, seeing as though they were still sitting in the box. So I figured this was my first look at being able to see them on the first one. So I was talking with the seller, seeing what he was asking for. Now that ping crazy putter is a pretty rare putter because the shaft is connected in the middle of the head. So I found out later that made it more rare. I have sold one of those crazy putters before, so I knew that they went for anywhere between 70 and 100 bucks, but I wasn't quite sure about the rarity of this one. The seller wanted a bit more than I was willing to pay for, but I decided I would take a gamble and go ahead and purchase this club for $35. I'm glad I did because it sold for $80.
Pretty much everything.
Still looking around. I asked if he had any other ones. He ended up pulling out this Titleist driver, which isn't too bad. It's not anything that I'm interested in because I'm looking more for the newer style clubs, but it's definitely a good club for somebody that is interested in maybe starting out with golf. It's a good beginner one, but like I said, it is quite a few years old. So moving on from there, I always try to stop and look at electronics. Now this thing was a Sony speaker. It was kind of an all built-in speaker. You could see the volume on the front. A bunch of these cables were all connected because it had two other speakers with it. So what I'm actually holding in my hand is the subwoofer. I found out that it's for a computer. It was all tangled together. It wasn't in the greatest condition. I decided to pass. I then came across this Callaway Razor. Now this thing was not in the best condition either. After looking it up and down, you always want to make sure and check the shaft, make sure the shaft isn't bent. I decided to put it back, and I was going to pass on it, but something just felt right, so I decided to come back, ask the vendor how much he wanted for it. He wanted $55 for this one, which is around what I would get for it on eBay, so I figured I should probably pass on this one because I already spent a lot more than I wanted to on that putter and didn't want to make that mistake twice. So I kept walking, came across yet another Pikachu Plush. Now a lot of these, if you get the original Pokemon plush from, I believe it was like the 1990s, then it is worth a bit. He wanted $5 for that one. Wasn't in great condition, so I decided to pass. Moving on, again, there is more shoes. Now these ones were Nike, I believe Air Jordans, but they were priced eBay prices as well, so I decided to move on. Now this vendor always has golf clubs. She told me later on that she has just been selling a ton of them, which is why this is the only bag that she currently has. So I really liked that Callaway, but all of these clubs also had the prices on them already. Now this burner, I would probably buy it for anywhere between $10 and $20, and I can make about 70 to 80 on it, but she wanted $65. Same thing with this R9. It was already priced to sell, and I decided I'm going to take a gamble on one of these. I went over to the ATM machine, which is something that I never do. I always try to bring enough money so that I don't have to do that, because chances are if you go and try and get more money and you come back, the item is probably gone. In this case, it wasn't, but when I looked it over a little bit more, I did notice that there were a couple dings and stuff on it, and it just was not worth it for that price. So I did talk to her to see if she had any other golf clubs, which sometimes she does bring some out. She has a ball retriever right there that is pretty cool, but even that one had a price on it, and it's always kind of hard to negotiate when a vendor already has their items priced out, because they've already done the due diligence before coming to the swap meet to see, you know, what they want for their items. So this vendor always has a ton of tables full of stuff, so it's always worth at least walking down and seeing. You can see there was a ton of camo on that last table. It would be you know, perfect for a Halloween costume or something like that. Unfortunately, that day they didn't have anything. This vendor had a ton of old school games. I think I saw a couple Tamagotchis in there as well, so I figured, you know, I'd walk by a little slow, because you never know what you're going to find under those kinds of piles. It already was being picked through pretty heavily, so all of the good stuff I could imagine was already gone. Now t-shirts as well, if you know what to look for with the original tags, double stitching, that kind of stuff, you can get some big money for it. I just did a quick glance, didn't want to take up too much time, and there wasn't anything there. Now these tables are what I'm always interested in looking at. Sometimes you can lift items up, stuff would be underneath, or you know, things are hidden, or there's just some diamonds in the rough. You can see that Darth Vader mask right there. I don't actually remember what that was. I think it was a radio, maybe. So I walked through here, didn't really see anything, but these two tables sometimes have coffee mugs on them from Starbucks, and those can sell for a pretty good return if you get it for 50 cents or $1. So I decided to, you know, bypass all of this stuff, keep walking around. I then stumbled upon a ton of golf clubs. I noticed right off the bat the white head of that golf club. It's the TaylorMade RBZ, and then I noticed one with a head cover on it. Thought it's probably in better condition, took the head cover off, and this thing was dinged up pretty bad. So I really didn't even want to mess with it, because in that kind of condition it would be extremely difficult to turn for a profit. You could probably get, you know, between $30 and $50 for something like that, because if the head of a driver is all dinged up and, you know, just doesn't look good, then that can affect how you hit the ball. I then came across a first, actually, I always look for disc golf items, and they're very rare. This is only the second time I've ever found anything disc golf related. So I asked the vendor how much she wanted for these discs. You can normally get used ones, which all of these were used. You can normally get used ones at Play It Again Sports, or, you know, a secondhand store for anywhere between $3 and $5. I know my entire set only cost me about $22, and I have like 10 of them, but she wanted $10 a piece for those. I just don't know enough about those to even try and turn a profit on it, so I decided to pass on those as well. I then swing by this jersey vendor, see if he's got any new Steelers jerseys. Sometimes he does, but they aren't the right size, but he tells me they always sell really quick, so I always have to check that out. I then decided to pass on those as well. Head over to this final table right before I left, and you can see there's just stuff all over. This is where I like to look at items the best, because there's diamonds in the rough, there's, you know, items hidden under stuff. I found quite a few things that I got a lot of money for on these dollar tables, so you never know. Some wooden golf clubs there. I did a quick glance, didn't see anything that I liked, so I figured after doing all of that, I might as well call it a day, see if there's a couple garage sales. So I walked away pretty empty-handed today. Unfortunately, it is something that happens. That's just the gamble that you take when going to swap meets and garage sales. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, drop a comment below, and turn on your notifications so you know when I post my next episode. Thanks for watching.